Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to session 5 of our Management Reports webinar series. So this afternoon, we're going to spend around about 45 minutes. I think it'll be 45 minutes maximum as well today. So we're going to spend that time looking at reconciling your aged debtors and creditors reports. For simplicity, we're just going to concentrate on the aged debtors side. Obviously, creditors wise, it would be pretty much the same. You're just looking, maybe you're looking at your suppliers and comparing that to your creditors control rather than your customers and your debtors control. So if you learn one half, you'll get the other side very easily. Right, let's get stuck into a bit of housekeeping before we get started. So as usual, you don't need a microphone for these sessions. If you've got one, you'll be muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself. Any questions, pop them in the questions panel. Just click your little speech bubble icon on the taskbar down the right hand side of your screen. You'll get access to that box. Pop in your comments, your questions, click send, and we'll try and pick them up as best we can. It's been quite busy on the questions in these sessions so far, so do bear with us. So today we're joined by Abby, Matt and Jackie. They'll be on hand throughout to try and answer those questions. So again, you may get a simple, straightforward answer to your question. You may get a link to a help article. If it's a bit more, maybe they need to ask you a few questions back. And if it's a bit more complex, they might just recommend that you get in touch with our support team. But keep your comments and your questions coming if you're not sure about something. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, they are available to download via the handout. Those are available throughout, and a link to download them will be included on your follow-up email as well. So if you don't get a chance or you download it but you forget about it during the session, then don't worry, there's a link on the handout. Now, as normal, the session is being recorded, so a link will be included to the recording of today's session. That will be included on the follow-up email. You get that follow-up email around about an hour after we finish, and that will include a number of other links. So if you want to register for other webinars or access our previous recordings, you can do that. The links are all provided for you, so watch out for that. Just for a bit of a recap on what we're covering in this webinar series, and just in case maybe it's your first one with us and you've missed the other sessions so far. We're running 6 different topics all relating to management reports. So nominal records, working with chart of accounts. We're looking at the management reports themselves in so much the trial balance, the profit and loss, and the balance sheet. Earlier this morning, we ran session 4, which was looking at running your management reports for a previous or a future financial year. Today, we're looking at session 5, reconciling your aged reports. And tomorrow, Abby's going to be taking you through the business dashboard. Great little feature, that one if you've never used it before. And then we also have the quiz session as well. Now we're running each of these sessions, we're now running them 3 times. So on the back of some feedback and some queries that we've had on the sessions so far this week, we decided we put on the sessions again. So we are running them again at the beginning of May. Now, if you attend any 5 of the 6 first topics, plus one of the quiz sessions, then you will qualify for the digital badge. The digital badge is something that will be issued normally within about 2 weeks of the session's ending, so keep an eye out for that. I'll play a little video so you can see how you'll receive that and how it'll be available to you towards the end of the session. If you haven't yet registered, link will be included on your follow-up email. Right, okay, let's have a look at what we're going to be covering in this session. So a bit of a quick introduction to the topic itself. We're then going to be looking at the reports that we've got available and then reconciling. So comparing the figures on the report. So easy enough to get a total for your aged debtors, easy enough to look at a trial balance and say, well, there's my debtors figures, but what happens when those figures don't agree? And why would they not agree? What do you do about that? So we'll be looking at troubleshooting as well. Just at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support that is available to you. And then if there are any outstanding questions, we'll try and pick those up as well. But as I say, we've got 3 very experienced people in the background today, and they are on hand to try and answer those questions for you, or at least point you in the right direction, if nothing else. Right, okay, let's get started then. So we're going to start with a little bit of a background just to set the scene a little bit. So today we're looking at what to check, and I'm going to concentrate on the aged debtors. Just in general, you tend to find that people have more customers in their accounts than suppliers. So we're going to concentrate on that, as you're more likely to have just because of the number of records you'd have, you're probably more likely to have an issue in that area than the suppliers area. But again, what you learned today is pretty much the same for the supplier side. So we're going to look at what to check if your age debtors doesn't agree to one, the debtors control account, which is a nominal code in your nominal ledger. If it doesn't agree to the trial balance, and also if it doesn't agree to the balance sheet, and you may get some other reports, so a trial balance compared to the balance sheet, they may disagree. So we're going to look at that come from that sort of angle today. Now, it is obviously a common support query when running your management reports at month end or year end, trying to, you're looking at the likes of your balance sheet or your trial balance and thinking, well, my age debtors doesn't agree with that figure. So that's what this session's all about. Now, there are common reasons. Obviously, we're going to be looking at all of them. So things like making sure that when you run the reports, you're running it based on the same information. You're running it for the same criteria. It sounds really obvious, some of that, but things like just making sure that you specify the same dates that you want to run the reports up to. Again, sounds really obvious, but it does catch people out, that. So things like report criteria, making sure you're including all records, that type of thing. Journals can cause a difference, and possibly even corruption as well. So do you have some errors in your data? That's a nice, easy one to check for, that one. And sometimes you can have, if you've got journals, rather than corruption, it might just report it as a warning. So I'm going to show you what that looks like if journals have been posted. Right, now if you downloaded the slides, I've included some links on here on the slides as well. That'll take you off to the help articles. They are very easy to find anywhere within our help centre should you need them. Right, so let's get started. So we're going to start with the basics. I always say start with the basics before you go too in depth. So when you enter customer transactions, they are posted to your debtors control account. We'll have a look at that in a moment. So anything you post in customers will automatically be reflected in your debtors control account. Doesn't matter whether it's an invoice, a receipt, a credit, it'll reflect in your debtors control. So if you do nothing else, if you look at your customers, the total outstanding balances of your customers should equal your debtors control account, ignoring date ranges. And that's a nice, easy check to start with if you've run your report and you've got a difference. So if you're looking at your age debtors and you think, right, there's the total there, it's £5,000, but your debtors control, maybe it's showing a slightly different figure. Where do you start? You want to make sure these two balances are equal before you start doing anything else. Now, it's really easy to check that. So I'm going to show you that check first of all. And this is something, if you've got your software open, try this as well. So we're just going to go into customers. And in customers, I've got minimal data in this company as well. So you could probably see yourself, we've got two accounts with two balances, £240 if you add them up. But obviously you're going to have a lot more than that. So easy way to do it, go into your customers, click swap. It'll highlight everything on your list, even the ones that aren't displayed, the ones further down. And what you will do is you'll get a total at the bottom here, 240 in my case. So you don't even need to, if you're not that good at maths, or you don't want to get your calculator out, nice, easy way to do that. Just click swap at the top. Now, before you click swap, I would encourage you, click clear. Make sure you've got nothing highlighted. Just if you did have something highlighted and you click swap, it'll just reverse that highlights. And as you can see, this one isn't selected. So I've got the wrong balance. So click clear, remove all highlights, then click swap. It'll make sure you've got everything selected. And it's saying £240. Now make sure you've got all records listed as well. Now mine does say all records. That's what you want. Make sure you haven't got a filter applied that for whatever reason is hiding some records. So if I had a filter, just a quick example, and I'll do where, let's say say account reference, just as an example, is not equal to, I'll just do B asterisk. I don't want to get bogged down too much with the filters. But if I apply that, you can see in the background there, the account that did have £120 isn't listed. So if I now click swap, you can see, although it's selected everything, it's only given me £120. So make sure you've got no filter applied for this basic check either. You want it to say all records. So the number in brackets is just however many records are listed. Right, so we're going to click swap. We highlight everything. We've got a total there, 240. Now the basic check, just to see sort of where our starting point, I suppose, is to compare that to your debtors control. So if you go into nominal codes, your debtors control, by default, it would be 1100. So we can see, yes, we have £240 in there. Now, if you've set up maybe your own list of nominal codes, what you may need to do is just pop into settings and choose control accounts. And the very first option, debtors control, it tells you the number that your debtors control account will be. So that's where you can specify your control accounts in Sage. So it's telling me 1100. That's the default. That's what I'm expecting virtually everybody on the webinar today to have. You'll probably have used, you might have other nominal codes on the go, but for your debtors control, it'll probably be 1100. If you want to check your creditors control, it's just the second one there. So you could do the same sort of check just by going into suppliers. I haven't got any on my list, but you would click swap, it would give you that total at the bottom, and you would then just go into your nominal codes and you would compare that to your creditors control, which is a bit further down my list. There it is there, 2100, which I've got no suppliers, I've got no balance, so it's not showing a balance on the list there. But the one we're interested in is the debtors control. This one here. So we know the starting point. We know they're equal. Now beyond that, it's going to be so if you've got issues and the balances still aren't equal, then it's going to be generally it's going to be something obvious. But that would be my starting point. Just make sure those two figures are equal. Right. Now let's look at the individual reports themselves. So we're going to run through the aged debtors, the trial balance, the balance sheet, the reports that you're likely to use at month end, year end, end of a quarter, that you're going to start comparing to each other. So we're going to start with the aged debtors. Now, some of you may have attended aged debtors webinars before where we talk about aging periods and running your aged reports. You may have even attended this session before when we've run it in the past. It's quite some time ago now. But the aged debtors report, before you run your aged debtors as part of things like your year end, check all your customers are included. Make sure that you've got nothing highlighted. Make sure you haven't got a filter applied, but also make sure you include inactive records. So you may have flagged them as inactive now because they've got a zero balance, but maybe they didn't at the time. I'll try and show you an example of that in a moment. And when you're running your reports, make sure you're specifying the right criteria. So make sure you're running it for the correct period. So if you are running to the end of a month, which you inevitably will be if you're comparing to your, like say your trial balance, or your profit and loss, or your balance sheet, sorry, then make sure you've specified the right day of the month that you're running up to. So you'll probably sit like me and go 30 days of September, April, June, November. Make sure you've, if it's a 31-day month, make sure you're running up to the 31st. Again, that may catch people out. You want to compare like with like. When you're running the likes of your trial balance, your balance sheet, they are based on calendar months, so they will run up to the end of the month. So make sure that. The other thing to make sure of is that when you run your aged debtors report or your aged creditors, that if you are looking back over, so you're trying to calculate it retrospectively, which again, very unlikely that you would run your month-end reports or your year-end reports as soon as you hit that date, You might just to check, but when you come to run them and you're comparing balances and you want to reconcile everything off, then you're probably going to be looking retrospectively. So you want to go back in time to see what was outstanding at that point in time. So to do that, you need to make sure you're selecting the exclude later payments checkbox. Make sure you tick it. So make sure you're running up to the right date. Make sure you're ticking that box, exclude later payments. I'll try and give you some examples to help you understand that. And again, I'm trying to put it in as simple terms as possible. So let's head back to my screen just for a moment. And Uja, you just mentioned there, if there's a difference between the reports, how can you correct it? Yeah, that's what this webinar is about. So if you just bear with me, we'll get on to actually correcting any differences. I'm going to create some differences in the session today as well, just so we can demonstrate that. Right, anyway, back to my screen. So we're going to start with age debtors. So into customers, again, you want to make sure all records is mentioned at the top. And you want to include inactive. So this account here, as an example, if we look at it, and we'll have a look at the activity, and we can see we had an invoice dated 1st of January of this year. And it's paid off by a receipt, which is dated today's date. Now, I could actually flag this account as being inactive. If I tick the box, save it, it lets me do that because it meets that criteria. So if I haven't got that one listed and I go to run an age debtors report, and let's say I want that balance as at the end of, let's say the end of March. Now that invoice against that first account wasn't paid until today. So I need it to reflect that, yes, there was an outstanding balance against that account. But because I've flagged it as being inactive, it's not listed and therefore it wouldn't be included. So make sure it says all records at the top and make sure you tick include inactive just to be on the safe side. Now I'm just going to flag this one as being active. I'll take the tick back out of that one. Save the changes. So it's back on the standard list. So make sure it says all records, no filter applied. Make sure it says include inactive. Make sure that's ticked. Again, click clear. So you've got nothing selected. Again, if I just run it with one selected, it would only run the report for the ones that I've got highlighted. So click clear, click swap to highlight everything, and then we'll get stuck into the reports themselves. Now, I've gone into statements. Let's not do that one today. We'll pop into reports. We're going to go into age debtors. Now, as you can see, there's loads of age debtors reports. Different orders, different level of detail. And really, it depends what you're after. But things like they should all have a total, and those totals should be the figure that you're trying to compare. So let's just work on that first one, age debtor analysis contacts. So I'm going to preview the report. And let's say I want the balance as at the end of, I'm going to go as at the end of March. So again, don't get caught out by that. I nearly clicked the 30th then, obviously 31 days in March. So make sure you're running it up to the right period. You've got that little date picker tool as well to help you. So if I wanted to do last month, I can do that. Saves me having to even think about, well, was it 30 days or 31 days? Or click into the little calendar. So we select the right date. I'm going to tick the box, exclude later payments. So what I'll do, I'll run it without that ticked first of all, and we get a total. So I'm just going to run it up to the end of last month, end of March. So we just OK that. It'll preview the report. And the figure I'm after is this one. It's at the bottom of the balance column. Now, if you've got loads of customers, obviously that might go onto multiple pages. You might run other reports as well, where it actually shows you the breakdown of transaction detail. But again, what you're after is the total of the report for the balance column. So in this case, it's £240. That's the figure that I'm going to be using. Now, if I was comparing that to the likes of my trial balance, which we'll come on to in a few minutes, then I know for the demos, you'll see it's going to generate a difference in a moment. So, but what I need to do is I want a list of what was outstanding at the time. So remember that first account had that invoice dated January, it's paid off today. So as at the end of March, that invoice should have been outstanding. But if we just quickly run that report again, you'll see it's not included on the report. So that A1 customer that I created, it's not there. So what I need to do is I need to make sure I tick that little checkbox. So run it again, specify your date range. I'll probably get caught out a few times myself today because we'll be in and out of the reports. So make sure you specify the right date, tick the box, exclude later payments. We OK that. And now you'll see it does pull through that account, this A1 customer. It's showing me it had a balance as at this date. So it's important to tick that box if you're running it retrospectively. You want to see what was outstanding at the time. So now we've got a total for the balance column of 360. That's the figure we're after. Now, believe it or not, just that little tick box, that creates so many queries for relating to this. You just say, right, did you tick the box or no? I forgot. Go away, tick the box, right, everything balances. So that's your starting point. All right, let's just close out of that. So that's the way the aged debtors works. Next, we're going to look at the trial balance. So let's go back to the slides just for a moment. And hopefully we're starting to, if you've attended the other sessions as well, you're starting to build up that picture, the understanding of nominal codes, the understanding of chart of accounts, which we'll be touching on a little bit later on. We've looked at your trial balance in the management report session. So hopefully we're just continuing to build on that. So your trial balance, again, it's a date sensitive report. It's based on calendar months. So again, it runs up to the end of the month. It's not the 30th of March, it's the 31st it would run up to, if that's when we're running it up to. And it's based on nominal monthly balances. So remember that one in the, Jackie would have probably touched on it a little bit in the chart of accounts, but definitely the management report session, we touched on that actuals column within the nominal records, those monthly figures. Now those monthly figures are based on the activity. Now that activity actually includes all transaction types. Now we mentioned at the beginning, if you enter anything against your customers, it would automatically be reflected in your debtors control. But also your debtors control is just a nominal code. So if you've posted journals to that nominal code, then it would be reflected in the trial balance. It would be picked up. It's a transaction on the activity. So that's something to bear in mind. That's part of the troubleshooting that we look at a little bit later on. But it's a nice simple report, the trial balance. Now what we're looking for is to make sure we run it up to the same period. So let's just go and quickly have a look at that. So the trial balance, you're going to be running that from within nominal codes. You've just got the trial balance at the top. We just preview the report. And I'm going to be running it up to not the month, not the end of the financial year. I want to make sure I'm comparing like with like. So make sure I'm running up to the end of March in this instance. So again, as you can see, mine is minimal. I've got next to no data entered on this set of data. But just, again, I don't want you to be distracted by information that's just not needed. So we're looking at the debtors control. We can see 1100 debtors control. You can see the balance. This is what we're comparing to. So that total balance column on the aged debtors, it should equal your period trial balance figure, which it does in this instance. Quick question from Sinead there. I think Jackie's just picked that up as well. So do you have to click swap to highlight everything? You don't necessarily have to, but as Jackie mentioned there, we always recommend it just to make sure you've got everything highlighted. But if you're not going to highlight everything, do make sure you click clear beforehand. Obviously, you don't need to do that for the likes of the trial balance. It's just things like your debtors and creditors that you'd need to do that for. So that's the trial balance. Now, if I quickly just show you, if I do a journal, in fact, what I'll do is I'm going to post an opening balance. Actually, we'll just do a journal, keep it nice and simple. So I'll just put my initials in and we'll use, I'm going to go back to the end of the previous financial year. Just get a warning about that. But let's say I do a journal for whatever reason. Now I do get a warning if I try and post to the debtors control account, and it tells me this entry will not be reflected in your sales or purchase ledger. So it means I'm going to post a journal to my debtors control, but that doesn't reflect on it's saying the sales ledger, it doesn't reflect against individual customers. So I just okay that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put £1,000 in there. So I'm going to debit it with 1,000. Now I'll use something like my suspense account for the time being. And we'll do £1,000. And we'll just save that. Now what we've done at this point is we've just done that journal. Now you can see the debtors control, it now has that bigger figure in there. But my customers, the total of those outstanding balances as at the end of March is still going to be £360 if I was to run an aged debtors report. I've not done anything to impact that. But I have posted a journal to my debtors control account. So if I now run a trial balance, and I just preview that, and we run that again to the end of March, just okay that. And you can see now we've got this figure here. We've got that 1,360. So it's incorporating that journal that I've just posted. It includes it. So it's all activity that's posted to that nominal code, not just the customer balances. So do be careful if sometimes you'll get adjustments from your accountant that says you need to do bad debt write-off, and some people will do that as journals. Bad debt would normally be written off by posting credit notes against the relevant customers. If you do credit notes to the relevant customer accounts, those credit notes, because you're posting it to a customer account, would automatically be reflected in your debtors control. But if you post just a journal to your debtors control, it doesn't reflect that on your customers, and the two would become out of sync at that point. So that's the kind of thing to watch out for. Right, what I'll do is I'm going to just close out of that for the time being. I'm going to go into transactions and I'm going to edit the journal. In fact, I'm just going to delete it just to get rid of it. So yes to that. And that's it gone. So that journal doesn't exist anymore. It's listed in red, but it doesn't impact on my accounts. So just to confirm, if I go back to nominal codes, we run that trial balance, we run it to the end of, March, and we should be back to the 360, which we are. Right. Any further questions just at this stage? If not, we'll move on to the balance sheet. Now again, I'm going to try and keep this simple because I don't want to overcomplicate the what the topic is. It's quite straightforward to resolve it. You just need to make sure you're comparing like with like. Now for the balance sheet, again, it's a date sensitive report. It's based on those calendar months that the trial balance is based on. And obviously those calendar months are based on those monthly balances, which in turn are based on the activity, which again includes all transaction types. But there's an additional factor this time, and it's the fact that it uses the chart of accounts. So there may be a nominal range involved. So when you're looking at debtors on your balance sheet, it might not just be the debtors control account that it's referring to. It might be a number of nominal codes that it's picking up and adding together. So again, that could be a reason why there is a difference. So again, let's just take this as an example. We'll go back to my screen and we'll run the balance sheet. So just preview it. Again, I want to be making sure that I'm running it for the same period. So to the end of March, and we'll OK that. Now in this instance, it's the year-to-date figure that I need to be looking at. So that's the balance as at the end of the period. So in this case, the end of March. That's what I'm looking at, not the period, even though it's the same in this instance. It's the year-to-date column. That's what I should be comparing to. Now it is equal in this instance, but I'm going to show you what it would look like if there's another value assigned to it. Now again, this would build on what Jackie covered with the chart of accounts session. So if you go into the chart of accounts, and we'll just edit our chart of accounts and look at the balance sheet, look at our current assets, and we can see debtors covers the range 1100 to 1199. So that's the default. And it means it's adding balances from those nominal codes together. So if, as an example, we find another nominal code, so we'll just say this, what shall we say? Let's just pick on this prepayments nominal code. Doesn't really matter what it is, but this nominal code 1103, it is included in that debtors range within the chart of accounts. So again, I'll put a journal through. So I'll just put my initials in again, put a number on this time as well. We'll use the date as at the end of March. And then I'll just put test. We'll debit it with, let's say, £500 this time. And then again, I'll put the opposite entry, just to keep it out of the way. I'll put that to our suspense account. So we'll do £500. So we've got one debit, one credit. It balances, so I'll save it. Now we haven't touched the debtors control there. It's still got the relevant balance on that we've been looking at. And actually, when you're looking at it here, this isn't date sensitive. It looks at all of the activity. That goes for all of the other nominal codes as well. It looks at all of the activity. It's not looking up to a certain date at that point. But if we run the balance sheet at this stage, we run it up to the end of March. So again, make sure you select the right date range. And this time, we've got a different figure. So we've got 860. So the 360 that we were expecting, plus that journal that I've just posted. But it's showing against debtors. So again, building on your knowledge, what we try to achieve in this sort of series of webinars is giving you a much better understanding of your management reports, where the figures come from, how they calculate. So you'll be familiar as well that I can drill down. So if I am looking at that and I'm thinking, well, debtors does disagree, initially you could just drill down. I can click on that value, and what it will do, it will drill down and say, right, against debtors, these are the nominal codes that are contributing to that £860. So we can see, actually, debtors control, the right balance is there this time. That's the one we're after. The other one, prepayments, we can see the balance that I've just posted for that one as well. but it is being included. So initially, when you look at the balance sheet itself, obviously you think, oh, it's different. That's why. If you always wanted to show debtors control figure separately, so you don't want it to group things together, that's when you need to start amending your chart of accounts. So obviously by doing that, it would avoid any sort of confusion. It just spells it straight out. This is your debtors control figure, and it would have said 360. I might have prepayments showing separately. So we've looked at how the main reports, the three reports that we're looking at today, we've looked at how they calculate. Again, keep your questions coming. I think we're on top of those. So easy enough to look at individual reports, but now I almost want to have a recap at this point. So make sure that you're comparing like with like. Why would the age debtors be different to the trial balance? So let's start with that one. So again, ensure you're using the same criteria. I'm going to sound like a broken record in a minute. You're running for the same period. Now, there is further troubleshooting if these balances are different. So have journals being posted to your debtors control account? How are you going to spot that? So let's quickly repost a journal to our debtors control account, just so you can see the reports, etc. So back to my screen. I'll close out of that. I'll quickly post a journal, and I want to include the debtors this time. Put my initials back in so I can spot it. We'll do it at the end of March. So again, 1100. You get that standard message just to try and prompt you, stop you from almost like digging a hole for yourself. We'll put the £1,000 back in that we entered earlier. And again, I'll put this to the suspense account as the opposite entry. And I'll save it. So if we've got a difference, we're definitely running them for the right period. Have journals being posted to the debtors control account. Now, it would be easy for me just to go into the activity and say, well, look, we can see some journals here. They're easy to spot. But a couple of things you can do, if we just go into reports and go into the day book, and if we go to the day book nominal ledger, that's the one we're after. So nominal codes, reports, day book nominal ledger. If we just run this report, and I'm just going to accept all of that criteria. Now I could, if I wanted to, I could just say, right, I want it up to the end of the last month. I might just leave that one. Let's do 01/01/1980, just prior to when we started using the software. So I want to run this one up to the period that I'm looking for. So I'm trying to look for journals on or prior to the date I'm running the trial balance up to. So we just okay that. And what it's doing this time is it's giving me a list of those journals. Now I could have, if I wanted to, I could have just done that. Actually, I'll quickly do that. I should have probably done that when I specified a nominal code. So we'll do 3103/2025, and we'll do nominal code 1100 to 1100. So what we're after is just the journals for the debtors control account. And more often than not, that's the light bulb moment when people have that type of query and go, yeah, right, I've got a journal. Right, what are those journals add up to? All right, they add up to the difference. So why have those journals been posted? It's then tracking that down. How do you go about then correcting that? So that's one way you can track the journals down. So I'll just quickly confirm that one again. So I'm just in nominal. Doesn't matter if you've got anything highlighted or not. Just pop into reports, day books. It's the day book nominal ledger. And when you run it, make sure you run it up to the date you're running the likes of your trial balance up to. And if you run it for that one nominal code only. I'll give you that list of journals if there are any. Now, the other way you can tell if journals have been posted is to check your data. So if you go to File and Maintenance, and if we go to Check Data, and we've got a warning. Now it tells me one warning has been generated for your data. So if I click on warnings at the side, it's telling me here the sales or the purchase age balance disagrees with the control account. So this is actually telling me that the total of my customer records, in this case, the sales aged balance, it disagrees with my debtors control account by, in this case, minus £1,000. But you shouldn't really have this warning if you're taking my advice. You've checked that total customer balances by highlighting everything, the subtotal at the bottom, and comparing that to your trial balance, or your nominal codes list, I should say. If they're equal, you're not going to have this specific warning. So this is telling me, so it's something, again, it's something you could easily do after, or something to look out for when you're next checking your data. So we'll just close out of that. So if you're comparing age debtors to the trial balance, let's just have a quick recap on that one. Again, I can't stress it enough. Same criteria, and again, for the aged, make sure you're ticking that box, exclude later payments. You want to see what was outstanding at the time. And then if they still don't agree, then you're looking probably for journals. Have any journals been posted directly to the debtors control? If journals have been posted and they balance, then that's not really the issue. If they cancel each other out debits and credits wise, it'd be where you have a difference. That's the problem. If you're not sure what to do, speak to our support team. But why have those journals been posted? What were they for? Right, next we're going to have a quick look at comparing the trial balance to the balance sheet. Now, both are based on those monthly balances. So essentially they should be equal. You need to make sure you're running for the same criteria. That sounds obvious, that one. Bit easier, that one, because you're running based on full month, so you're not having to specify an individual date. And it would really just be down to the chart of accounts if there is a difference between your trial balance and your balance sheet. So compare them in that order. Your age debtors, that total balance against your trial balance. Do they agree? And then it's the trial balance against the balance sheet. So take it in nice, easy, simple steps. Now, further troubleshooting. So I've mentioned that Daybook's nominal ledger report. Again, I've included a link to the Help Centre article, Age Debtors Does Not Reconcile. So again, other than journals, nothing really to look out for. Yes, it might be errors in your data. If it is, all you need to do, check your data or any errors reported. If not, it's not going to be that. It's going to be something obvious. That's what catches people out. So hopefully that's simplified that a little bit for you. I'm hoping it has anyway. Do let me know. There'll be an opportunity to submit your feedback on the survey as you leave today's session. If you've got any final questions, if you want to pop them into the questions panel, download the slides as well if you do want copies of those. Again, the slides will take you to the relevant Help Centre links as well. They'll be on the slides. They'll work for you. Loads of other information in the Help Centre as well, whether you want to learn about your management reports or anything else to do with your software. There's a Sage Copilot section in there now as well. So if you heard about Copilot, you want to get up and running with it, you want to find out more about it, how to use it, there is information there. We're also running webinars on Sage Copilot at the moment as well. So if you want to find out what it's all about and see it in action, then get yourself registered. Our next session is at 2 o'clock on Friday. So we'll be running through loads of demos on that one. And again, just as a reminder, this is what we're going to be covering over this series of webinars. So do get yourself signed up if you've missed any sessions. For the badge, we always get loads of questions about that one. Not as many this afternoon, but we've had loads of sessions. Just going to play that little video. Some of you may have seen this already, and it'll give you an idea, more of an idea about what that badge will look like and how it's going to be issued. Okay, that was just a short video, just of our Credible portal, where your badge would be held for you. So if you do qualify for the badge, you can expect to receive that or receive an email telling you you've qualified for the badge. That would normally within 2 weeks of our sort of the first series of webinars finishing. So we'll be running our first set of reports after the end of next week to see who qualifies, and you'll be issued with an email. And then if anyone just needed with the tidy up mop up sessions that are in the first 2 weeks of May, we'll be running those reports again to see who else qualifies. So again, if you've missed any sessions, plenty of opportunity to attend. Right, I'm going to pick up one question in just a moment from Tina. But let me quickly thank you for coming along this afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. And I'm sure many of you will have known what we've covered already, but hopefully it's just giving you a little bit of reassurance that your understanding is correct. For some of the questions, I can see that's come through. Yeah, it's been, maybe you've learned a bit here and there, and you can think, well, yeah, I've got a problem. Hopefully you'll have an idea of how to correct it or how to avoid that query in the first place. Now, there will be that little survey pop up as you leave today's session. If you can take a minute to complete that, it'd be greatly appreciated. Your follow-up email will be with you in around about an hour. That will include a link to today's recording, a link to our registration page, and also a link to our recordings page as well. So if there's anything you've missed and you want to catch up, or a bit of a recap, if it was a while ago when you attended that, then just look out for that. So it's around about an hour's time. Now, I've got one outstanding question at the moment, which is from Tina. Tina just mentioned there, my accountant posted a journal that created the warning. So how do you resolve this? Now, it's not just a case of removing the record itself, it's what was that journal posted for? It's probably going to be to do with bad debt. It generally is when it's to do with your debtors control. So writing off bad debts, that should have been done in the form, normally in the form of credit notes against the individual customers, so that when you post those credits to write off the bad debt, it automatically posts through to your debtors control. So it depends what that journal is for, Tina. There's not just one answer will resolve it for you. Yes, to get rid of the warning, you need to either delete the journal or reverse it. But why was it posted in the first place? So if you were to delete the journal or reverse the journal, depending what's the best option, it's what was it for? So what do you still then need to do? Why was that journal posted in the first place? So have a bit look through. Something like the Daybook Nominal Ledger will list the journals in order as well, so you can see all parts of the journal, and that may give you a better idea. So if you've got the transaction number and you're still not sure, maybe get in touch with our support team as well, see if they can help. But that's the one you would need to look at in a bit more detail. I hope that helps. Right, we'll end the webinar just at that point. Once again, many thanks for coming along. Do take that minute to complete the survey. It'd be greatly appreciated if you can, and watch out for your follow-up email. Plenty of sessions to get yourself registered for, so watch out for that follow-up email and do get yourself registered, and hope to see you on them soon. Many thanks.